MJ, I heard that you got engaged the other day. Congratulations.
What? Why do you know about any of that?
Because your father told me all about it.
Really? So my dad went and told you all of the details about me?
Is it wrong for me to hear about that sort of thing?
I told him not to talk to anyone else about it for right now, so that I could surprise everyone later.
Oh, so you didn't want anyone hearing about this besides him?
Well, it's too late to do anything about that now, so whatever. I mean, you and him are married to one another after all, so it makes sense that he'd think it's okay to tell you. Should have been more clear about what I wanted with him. Oh, just make sure not to tell anyone else about this, alright?
Well, I'm sorry that I found out through him. Your father and I won't tell anyone else about you getting engaged, so don't you worry about a thing. Now, what kind of surprise are you planning to carry out for everyone else?
I plan on posting on social media about my fiancé and I the day we go to the courthouse and get married. I wanted to write a long message on that post and surprise all of my other family and friends.
So that was your plan? Well, I'm sure that everyone is still going to be very surprised by this. I know that I only just heard about this a little bit ago from your father, but considering we're all living with one another, please forgive him for opening his mouth.
However, you and I aren't related by blood or anything. So to me, you're less like family and more like my dad's friend.
But to me, I really think of you as my daughter. I'm sure that you've never really felt that way before, but
I am thankful that you took the time to get married to my dad and all that long time ago. And when I said that I wanted to get right to work after graduating from high school, you jumped in and got my dad to agree with letting me to do all of that. I really do appreciate all you've done for me in the past, taking my side during everything.
I guess things like that did happen in the past. I remember back when you were getting ready to graduate, you and your father fought a lot about things.
It was when I told him that I wasn't going to college or anything that he got so upset with me that he blew up. You coming in to save the day there by setting him straight really did save me. And because of that, he was willing to help me pay to move out of the house for a while.
All of that brings back some good memories from those days. And to think that the you from back then is going to be getting married now. It's all too quick for me. But that's just the way time is, I suppose, always moving by faster than we can realize. I remember the first time I ever met you. You were still in middle school. You really have gone from a little girl to being a beautiful young woman.
That's very true. Back in those days, I was nothing more than just a kid. I remember how everything went down around me when my dad decided to get married again.
You were still young and going through puberty, so having a new woman like me joining your family really made you upset, right?
Well, to be honest, I didn't want you in the family. But it's Dad's life, and he gets to make those choices for himself. And after he married you, I was a pretty rebellious little girl. But now that I think about you, I find that you're all right. I guess moving out of the house for a while helped me realize those things about you.
I'm so glad that you and I are able to talk about things like this now that you're an adult and all. I'm sorry that while you were still so young, you had to go through things only adults should be faced with.
Stop worrying about all of that now. I know I don't care anymore. Now back to me getting married. If my dad says anything against it or about how he doesn't like my fiancé, make sure to set him straight again for me.
I don't think he's going to be against anything this time. Both your father and myself are so happy to see you found the man of your dreams.
You have no idea, though. When it comes to my dad, he's still got his head stuck in the past. And he only ever wants for me to marry a man that is a hard worker and makes good enough money. So when it comes to my fiancé, I'm not too sure he's going to like him.
Tell me, what kind of work is your fiancé doing right now?
He's a musician, actually. But the kind of work he does isn't very stable, so I can see my dad being all against him. I can hear him saying that he wants me to find a man with a more stable job right now or something like that.
I don't think your father has had those kinds of thoughts going through his head. If your fiancé is really able to make things work by being a musician, that's amazing.
Right? And not only that, but he's a really hot man as well. He told me that in the past he was a model and everything at an agency.
So he's a really outgoing person, I assume. But thankfully he was able to find himself a super pretty woman like you to hook. I'm sure you both will make for a very attractive couple once you've married.
I guess my face is pretty good compared to other women my age. Thank God I never ended up looking like my dad either. My real mom was a very gorgeous woman, so it's thanks to her that I look so sexy.
I guess that's right.
But for someone as good looking as my mom was, my dad still ended up divorcing her. I guess things like marriage really are difficult to understand for people.
That's right. And I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that ended up going down with both your mother and your father back then that even we couldn't understand.
Well, I have confidence that my fiancé and I will be in love with one another for the rest of our lives. I mean, he's falling head over heels for me all the time when we hang out.
Well, that's such a wonderful thing to hear, MJ. I think that you both will do so well together as husband and wife, and that you both will never have to worry about a thing in the future. MJ, I just arrived at the wedding venue. I'm in the family waiting room right now with all the others talking and waiting for things to start, but do you want me to come over and see you? I would like to see how things are going and make sure you don't need my help with anything. And, well, I really want to see you in that wedding dress as soon as possible.
You can send Dad over here whenever he's ready. But you can go ahead and head back home now, Andrea.
Wait, what was that? Why do you want me going back home when I only just got here?
I took some time to think a lot of things over, you see. And, well, I came to the conclusion that I really don't need someone like you after all.
You don't need someone like me? What do you mean by that?
Since you aren't related to me by blood or anything, I'd rather you not be here sitting with the rest of my family today. Also, with me getting married to my fiancé now, I'm about to become part of a completely different family. Don't you think this is the best time for me to focus on them more than some stranger like you?
But you and I have been like mother and daughter for the past 10 years.
Sure, as stepmother and stepdaughter.
Even if we are only related by marriage, I've always seen and treated you like my own daughter. I've always thought of you as my own, and that's why I put a lot of my time and energy into raising you as such.
The one who raised me was my dad, not you, Andrea. It's because of my dad's income that I was able to survive under him.
I'm sure that his job and the money did play a big part in you being raised.
To be open with you, I always found you and that attitude towards me totally annoying and wrong. I just didn't want to get my dad any more upset with me than he was at times, so I made sure to keep my mouth shut about all of that. But man, was it hard for me to look at some desperate woman like yourself who only ever married my dad for his money and nothing else, try and act like she was my mom for the past 10 years now.
I never married your father for his money. Why would you ever even say such a mean thing about me in the first place?
Because I know for sure that that's the truth with you. Why would my dad ever choose to marry such a sad excuse for a woman like you? It really is the hardest mystery for anyone to solve, I bet. Perhaps you fooled him into marriage and he never left you because he didn't want a divorce twice.
Why are you saying all of these things about your father and I right now? Are you saying that after all this time, you never did really consider me a part of your family at all?
I don't ever remember saying to you that I loved you or thought of you like my mom, right? Honestly, I didn't really care at all about who became my dad's wife back then and was just trying to get through school. It was all his choice in the end and never mattered to me. But that never meant I agreed with his new wife trying to act like she's been my mom for the past decade or so. And I do not want to read any letters of thanks and love from someone like you on a day like my wedding.
So that's how you've always thought about us and our relationship? But the last time we really talked, you never said anything like what you're saying to me right now. When you came to talk with me about the work you'd found and such, you told me that you appreciated my help and such, right?
Oh, come on now. Me saying thanks to you then wasn't anything special, and it doesn't mean that you get to hold that against me. I just wanted you to know that you were helpful was all, and not completely useless. But let's be honest here. Besides things like that, you haven't been any use to me at all.
So that's how you felt about me this whole time then?
That's right. I have always hated your guts so much and still kind of do. But at this point, none of that means anything anymore, right? No point in hiding our true feelings from one another anymore either. I'm going to have my own family now, which means that you and I no longer have to force ourselves to like one another. Now, with all of that having been said, you can go right on home. I'm about to make my own life of happiness now, and you will no longer have anything to do with my life. So please, leave me alone.
So you're really serious about using your wedding and marriage today as a way of cutting me out of your life, right?
That's what I've been saying this whole time, Andrea. All I ask of you now is to take good care of my dad for me.
I see. All right then. I'll take what all you've said to me with respect and not ignore one bit of it. I will no longer come around you anymore, and I will do my best to never contact you again. That should be all you want, right?
That's right. And make sure to do all of that for me right now, please. And good work with all you had done for me out of whatever that fake love you had for me was. Bye-bye. Have you gone home now? You're not still here at my wedding trying to hide from me or anything, right?
I just wanted to check with you one last time about this. Are you really sure that you're fine with what you've said to and asked of me?
I've told you that that's all I'm wanting right now. You're really being a pain in the butt for me right now asking that again. And you told me a little bit ago that you never talked to me again either, right?
I know that's what I said, but to me, you're like my very own daughter, and as my daughter, I'm just a bit worried about you right now. I think that this is my parental instincts kicking in and telling me that I need to check with you one last time about everything.
Huh? Stop trying to act like you've actually been my real parent this whole time when you haven't been. All you've been to me is a stepmother and nothing else. So stop it with all that parenting crap right now. It's just disgusting hearing you say all of that.
Good point. Me calling you my daughter all these years wasn't right of me. I don't even have a daughter in reality.
And that's absolutely right. You've never ever had a daughter before, and you and I are just strangers. Now you cut that parenting crap out right now and get a grip, please. Now, I need to go out and practice for the wedding one last time before the real deal happens. You being the old hack stranger that you are need to go home right now.
I'm already on my way home, MJ. I knew it was a waste of time for me to be at that wedding venue any longer than I had to be, so I left a while ago. And it's not like it would matter if I stayed away, because I'm sure that your wedding is going to be canceled here soon.
What kind of nonsense are you talking about now, Andrea? Are you crying like a sore loser or something?
You're still not aware of what I'd done?
What did you do?
Do you see any of the staff around right now setting up the wedding? Doesn't it seem strange that they all stopped what they were doing and that nobody is out putting up any more of the decorations? I think at this moment all of them are listening to the wedding organizer tell them a very crazy piece of news.
Seriously, I have no idea what you're going on about right now. What are you trying to say to me about my wedding? If you have something you want to say and you want me to know, then say it to me right now.
You'll understand what I'm talking about really soon here, so I shouldn't have to say anything else. Just hang tight and that news will be coming to you next.
Hold on a sec. I've been waiting here for a little bit now and the organizer still hasn't come out to meet with me and do one last practice. Does this have something to do with what you're talking about?
Oh my, seems things have been set into motion now.
Huh? What do you mean things have been set into motion now? Hey, Andrea, did you do something at my wedding before you left?
I told you a second ago that I was sure your wedding would end up canceled, right? And it's not only myself who's heading back home right now. I believe that almost all of your guests and such are starting to head home themselves.
Why the hell is someone like you allowed to do something like that to me? You have no right telling my guests to go home and that my wedding is actually canceled, right? What the hell have you done?
How about you go and ask your good-looking husband about that, and then you should know what all has happened and what is to happen with that wedding of yours. Goodbye now.
I was told that the wedding is really being canceled now, and the one that they said was going to make sure was canceled was my husband. Why would he say something like that?
Why would you ask me? You're the one that asked for all of this to happen to you guys.
What the actual hell did you end up doing?
I told you I did nothing at all. I just did what you told me to do, and that was go home. The one that started asking for the wedding to be canceled was your own father, and it seems that he went and had a really good talk with your husband about the reason why that happened. He then told your husband that he should have your wedding canceled at once.
I have no clue what you're talking about right now. Why would my dad ever do that to me on my wedding day of all days?
What you said and did to me today was the worst thing I've ever had happen to me. When I showed your father all of the things you said to me over text earlier, he was furious about it. And then he let out this yell before saying that if you are going to treat your stepmother, who raised you for 10 years like that, then you don't deserve this wedding.
I told you to tell him a lie about why you were leaving so this wouldn't happen though, right? Why would you go out of your way to do that to me anyway? This is supposed to be one of the biggest days of my life ever. And by the way, why would Dad be going over to my husband to talk about something like that and asking that he cancel the wedding?
Remember how you and your husband only paid for about a third of this wedding, right? Did you forget who it was that paid for the other 2/3 again?
I know that it was my dad that helped pay for a large part of this wedding and all. But for him to go and ask for this wedding to be canceled today, his own daughter's wedding?
The one who really forked over their money for your wedding today wasn't your father. That was just what your father told you. But in reality, it was someone else, MJ.
Huh? Then who the hell was it?
Me. I'm the one that paid for the other 2/3 of your wedding.
There is no way on God's green earth that you're the one who paid for all of this. There is no way someone like you could even pay that kind of money to have my wedding, right? All you even are is a basic housewife as well.
I suppose I am just a simple old housewife for your father, but that doesn't mean I don't have a whole lot of money saved up. You heard the story from me before, how my parents both passed away when I was younger, right? Well, after all of that had happened and their funerals were over, I was told that the both of them had left me with a very, very generous amount of money, and some other properties as well.
You're lying. I don't remember you ever telling that story.
Perhaps not about the money, but you did hear about my parents, right? I just didn't feel comfortable telling you about that money at the time.
Why didn't you feel comfortable telling me about something that important?
Because at the time, you were still pretty new to me, and so I didn't think that a middle schooler I didn't know well enough needed to hear about it. And when it comes to me, I know that talk about money can lead to a lot of trouble down the road for all parties involved. Also, I was told by your own father not to talk with you yet about the money I had, because he didn't think you were old enough to hear about it either.
Why would he say that? The fact that you both hid all of this from me is screwed up.
It seems your father didn't want me to say a thing to you about it until after you got over those bad habits of yours. I mean, look, had you found out that I had a lot of money, too much money for myself to have, you might come and try asking for it from me all the time, right? Your father didn't want that for me.
What the hell did you think of me? I would never ever ask for your money over and over like you're saying.
But MJ, explain all those times you'd steal money from my wallet in the past. Your father and I both knew about that happening, and that's why neither one of us could trust you learning about the amount I had. And that's why it was kept a secret from you for this long.
But that's all of my parents' money, right? You guys should be telling your daughter about things like money, because I have a right to that money someday when you kick the can and have to leave it to someone.
You're the child that your father brought along with him in the marriage, which means you have no right to the money, actually. And I never ended up adopting you as my own child in the marriage or afterwards, right? Therefore, this money I have right now will never be touching your fingertips.
What? You're telling me that I'll never be able to get that money after you die? Why can't I? You go and adopt me right now, Andrea.
But you were the one that refused me adopting you when I had asked, right? I told you that I would respect your decision, and that's why your father and I never did anything in terms of adopting you ever again afterwards. Did you forget about all of that, too?
You think I'd really remember something like that? And wait, you probably asked me that back when I was in my rebellious phase, right? You can't take what I said back then seriously.
Well, what does any of that matter now, MJ? Anyway, as you can see now, I've had a lot of money all this time. And I know you were saying that it was me who wanted to marry your father for his money and all before, but now you can see that you had the wrong idea of me, right?
I can see that now.
Anywho, I'm the one who ended up paying for 2/3 of your wedding. You really think you can get away with making such terrible remarks about me earlier and still have your wedding without any issues? That's not the way things work at all in this world, and you should be aware of that now.
But even if that's true, canceling my wedding on the day of it is insane. Are you wanting for me to be embarrassed now?
Don't you think being embarrassed by all of this today fits someone as selfish as you? Oh, that's right, that's right. Your father will be the one who explains all that's happened today to your guests. He said that he's going to make sure to tell them everything and anything they'd like to hear, as to avoid any confusion.
Hey, wait! You stop all of that right now. Why the hell would my real dad want to go and ruin his only daughter's wedding like that? You guys all stop screwing around with me right now.
If you're going to get all upset like that at me now, you're really going to make things worse. Remember that it was also you who asked that we cut ties to one another now, right? Well, that means I have no reason to be paying for some stranger's wedding anymore as well. If you really want to have this wedding of yours today, act like an adult and pay for it all yourself, please.
I couldn't pay for it all, and that's why I had to ask my dad for help.
Well, if you were expecting only him to pay, you have more to worry about than you think. Because, sure, he can help pay still, but what about your husband now? Seems that after what your father told me, he no longer wants to be married to you anymore. Congratulations on the divorce, MJ. I heard from your father that your husband is going to be divorcing you now.
This is not something you should be freaking celebrating, when I'm having to go through so much shock and hell as things are.
Well, it was his parents who were both against your marriage in the end, right? There's really no other choice but to accept this divorce and move on to someone else.
Well, this is all happening because you had to go and open your mouth to my dang dad about all of that useless crap between you and I.
Well, if the wedding was going to be canceled anyway because it wouldn't be paid for, everyone there had a right to know what the reason for me not paying anymore was, right? And that's why I told your father everything you'd done to me, and then he told everyone else in my place. Not only was your husband in shock from what he'd heard and seen, but so was the rest of his family too. Of course it makes sense for him to not want to stay married to someone as disrespectful as you.
Come back here right now, Andrea.
Why should I do that?
I will apologize to you for everything if you just come back here. I want to make things right with you now.
You think that your apologies for everything are going to end with me forgiving you?
You can at least act like you've forgiven me. I just need you to come back here and act like you love me again. I only want to avoid being divorced, and then we don't have to see one another anymore. If I make it seem like we just had a small mother and daughter fight, they should be all right with me staying married, right?
I don't really want anything to do with you anymore, though. And this had nothing to do with a small mother-daughter fight. I mean, you and I aren't even related to one another, right?
I will take everything I ever said to you back, okay? I am really, really sorry about what I said.
I kind of enjoy this feeling of you not only losing your wedding today, but you losing your husband and his family as well. But the wedding being canceled on the day of means I won't be getting a lot of that money back I wasted on you. So could you please pay me back everything I spent? And I mean every penny I had to put into that failed wedding of yours.
What? There's no way I could do something like that for you.
If you're not going to give me my money back, then I'll have to sadly take you to court and sue you.
The only kind of work I've ever done is a part-time job, though. So there's no way I can give you any money right now. You're the one out of all of us who has a lot of money, right? Why are you getting so upset about some $40,000 being lost?
The thing is, I'm not upset about the money at all, really. I just want to make you pay for having said such heartless and cruel things to me earlier, that nobody should ever say to those that have done so much for them. You need to understand the kind of childish crap you pulled today, and why, as an adult, you can't say those things.
I already know that what I said was not okay. I know that because I've not only lost my wedding now, but my husband as well. If I have to pay a large amount of money to you after both of those things, that's going to end up killing me.
Well, you're just going to have to live with all of that, or rather die with it. There are no longer any adults around who are going to help you through your troubles. Your father already told me that he'll be cutting ties to you now.
Even my dad is leaving me now?
You should have thought everything you were doing earlier through just a bit more. If you find that it's easy for you to go around making fun of others and ruining their lives, it's just as easy for everyone around you to throw you away. That's goodbye forever from me now. This old hag stranger will be going now. And just like that, the wedding which MJ had been looking forward to for so long was cancelled. At first, all of the guests were pretty confused as to why the wedding was being cancelled before it had even started, but after my husband went and explained everything to them, they all understood. And there was not a single person there who agreed or sympathized with what MJ did. She did try her hardest, though, to get someone to help her out by paying for the wedding, but by that point everyone had already lost faith in her anyways, and it was all over. Soon after that day, the rumors of when and how MJ was divorced started to spread throughout the town and the internet, and all of those around her began calling her a huge idiot while laughing at her. As of right now, MJ is currently paying me back for her wedding with a couple $100 a month, as she works a rather unfortunate part-time job somewhere out in a run-down part of the city. Having to take her to court and get a settlement for all of this would take too much time and would require me to pay for a lawyer, so just having her pay me over time was a far better choice. And of course, since she doesn't have the ability to make enough to pay me everything all at once, she's going to be working hard for a long time, making every cent for me. I still have a lot more money saved from both of my parents, so not having that $40,000 back for a while won't really do me any harm. But I really do hope that this will hurt MJ enough to teach her a very, very important lesson. And for that purpose, I'll make sure she pays me $500 a month for the next 20 months. I'm sure that 20 months will seem like an eternity for MJ, especially when she's not making much at all, but that's the point of me asking for such an amount, and I hope it gives her hell. As for my husband and I, we're living life acting as though neither of us ever even had a daughter. And of course, we don't regret saying goodbye to MJ forever one bit. After all, this is the outcome that she wanted for herself, and I fully support it.
Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.